Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that the coffee that you spilled on your keyboard yesterday is the exact reason that you're sitting on a 7-figure XRP stash today. It's a wild thought, right? Well, hold that image, because in the next few minutes, you're going to see how a modest bag of XRP today could grow into something that lets you swap commuter traffic for oceanside Wi-Fi and sneaky midday naps. So here is the scene. It's 6 a.m, Dubai is already roasting, and I'm wrestling my phone out of that kind of black hole spot between the couch cushions, right? We've all been there. Now, notifications are blinking like a slot machine. XRP up 3%. Changelly sees a $1,900 XRP, and my personal favorite, of course, is Google Gemini that says, $64 in 2040. That's pretty 3 different wildly kind of different future price tags, right? All in the same kind of news cycle. Now, my caffeine-less kind of brain is screaming at this point. Which one do I believe? But instead of doom scrolling, I grab a fresh notepad, the old kind of school paper kind, right? And the one that still has kind of dried cappuccino foam on the corner. And it's at this point that I decide to turn this confusion into a proper thought experiment. First, let's get a little bit of context here. Way back in March of 2017, when fidget spinners, still kind of ruled desk drawers, XRP cost half a cent, so 0.0055 to be precise, of course. Now, 10 months later, January of 2018, XRP is moonwalking at $3.80. Now, that's a 68,990% move. You know how big that is, right? Now, if your paycheck did that, you'd cash out of the 9 to 5 and buy the entire company car park, cars included, by New Year's Eve, right? Now, you fast forward to late 2024, everyone's kind of sweating another crypto winter, and XRP zigzags from 50 cents to $3.40 in less than 3 months. That's a 580% sprint, while most people are still kind of talking down the holiday decorations, right? Now, volatility is the dinner guest that nobody invited, but my goodness, did it bring the dessert. Which brings me to Michael Saylor. Whether you think he is Bitcoin fearless dragon slayer or a perma bull with diamond hands wielded to kind of a microphone, well, the guy said something that actually hit. Volatility is a gift, right? Now, I used to treat volatility like a nosy neighbor, right? Peek out of the blind, hope it kind of walks away. Now I realize that it's more like a surprise birthday party. It's confusing at first, maybe, but a kind of smidge stressful also. But if you kind of let it kind of play out, you end up eating cake that you didn't have to bake. So let's unwrap this gift with some numbers that don't feel like a college statistic lecture. So picture that you've got maybe $5,000 kind of itching in your pocket today. XRP is sitting at around $2.26 at the point of recording, roughly the price of a double shot espresso if you add whipped cream and a sprinkle of I've earned this. Now, $5,000 at $2.26 nets you 2,212 XRP tokens. Now, double down or triple, really even, maybe toss in $15,000. Suddenly you own, 6,637 XRP. That's your baseline. 2 suitcases on the launchpad. Now, the $1 million, scratch that, multi-million-dollar question. Where could those bags land by 2040? Buckle up, because 3 analysts are about to duke it out in our imaginary boxing ring. In the red corner, wearing the reasonable expectations trunks, we've got Google's Gemini, the AI with a poker face. Now, it says that XRP at $64.20 in 2040. That's not Cinderella, but not Swamp Monster either. So do that math. 2,212 XRP times $64.20 equals about $142,000. Respectable condo money. Now the $15,000 bag? Well, that's $426,000. That'll buy you a yacht, maybe a pre-loved one, but still an anchor and a deck big enough for barbecue Sundays. Across the ring, in the silver trunks of cautious optimism, stands Telegaon. Minimum price is $119.08. The max price, $160.34. We're going to grab the top end because, hey, dream big or stay home. And suddenly, 2,212 XRP balloons to roughly $354,672. That's generational wealth for some and kids' college fund and a new Tesla money for others. The $15,000 stack leaps to over $1 million, landing at $1.064 million. Imagine sliding that figure into your favorite retirement calculator. The chart line basically leaves the screen. Now, the heavyweight, wearing golden gloves and a cloak made entirely of moon emojis. Changelly. Now they're calling for a $1,938 XRP by December 2040. Now when I first read that, I halfway expected confetti to burst out of my laptop like a cheesy Zoom filter. But let's run their math anyway, because dream fuel is still fuel. 2,000-ish bucks a coin times 2,212 coins is $4.286 million. Whew. And the $15,000 bag of XRP? Try $12.86 million. Now that's buy your mum the house that she keeps texting you on Zillow about money. That's also write a polite email resigning from corporate life while sipping a coconut somewhere breezy money. And here is where the brain goblin, or gremlin I should say, kind of whispers, hold up, can XRP really pull that off? And it's a fair objection, right? The crypto market in 2025 is nothing like 2017. Regulation is thicker than my cousin's London accent. We've got stablecoin oversight bills, we've got trial verdicts, we've got green energy debates, and more on-chain analytics than NASA has graphs. Some folk insist XRP is just too mature for those ballistic rallies. Yet every time skeptics send XRP to the doghouse, volatility brings it a snack, and they both kind of stroll right back into the living room together. Now remember, at least I remember, the first time I experienced a real crypto kind of mood swing. It was 2018. Cardano had just popped, my exchange app was all green candles everywhere, and I celebrated with tacos. Right, 12 hours later, it looked like a Christmas sale at a ski resort, everything in the red. Now, I learned two things that one night. The first was never skip the kind of guacamole, even if it's extra. And two, timing is perfect exit is kind of, at least timing the perfect exit is about as easy as herding caffeinated kittens. But holding through the storms, well, that's where the compounding really kicks in. Now, speaking of storms, let's talk about the elephant in the ledger. XRP's ongoing dance with regulators. And yes, the Ripple versus SEC saga still hovers like a Netflix series that refuses to release its final kind of season, right? And here's a spoiler alert. Clarity is coming, right? It might be slow, it might get messy, but even kind of partial clarity often sparks price rallies because markets hate uncertainty more than pineapple on pizza debates. So if clarity finally lands, and institutional money floods in, those moon math scenarios start looking less like sci-fi and more like your aunt's suspiciously accurate horoscopes. But here's a quick breather though, right? Because at this point in my kind of spiral of optimistic projections and caffeine refills, even I have to pause and smell reality. So let me slide this in clearly, just as my kind of lawyer would insist that I do. And this one, it might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor. And nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is purely for entertainment and educational purposes only. Whew, we definitely needed that. So let's think of it as the kind of seatbelt sign on the aeroplane then. You don't expect turbulence, but smart travelers click in anyway. All right. Seatbelts are fastened, so let's keep on cruising here. Right, one question that I get a lot in our free educational Discord server, the link for that is lounging in the description below by the way, is whether a 15-year horizon is actually just too long. And my response is always zoom out, right? We scroll social feeds like kind of fruit fly attention spans, right? But market cycles often favor tortoises over rabbits, right? Think of long-term investing like slow cooking a brisket, right? You can microwave a steak in 2 minutes, but nobody invites you over for that culinary war crime, right? Give it time, keep the temperature steady, and the payoff melts in your mouth, metaphorically speaking, of course. Now, how do you kind of ride those 15 years without losing all of your marbles then? Habit. Now, I automate buys, tiny amounts that land in my Kraken Pro account every Friday before lunch. And yes, that's the part where I remind you that the Kraken Pro link down below in the description is an affiliate link that supports the channel here and keeps the lights on. And this microphone on, of course. So think of it as tipping your bartender for a story that maybe, just maybe, helps you retire early. Of course, that's speculative talk, but you kind of get the idea. And I genuinely actually like Kraken Pro for 2 reasons. 1, the UI doesn't make my eyes bleed. 2, their staking and trading fees have saved me enough that I can justify the extra shot of espresso every morning. So if you're kind of shopping for an exchange, why don't you give it a peek? But of course, choose whatever platform makes sense for you and your jurisdiction. Let's get back to the numbers, right? I whipped out a spreadsheet, color-coded like a unicorn exploded, of course, running 3 different scenarios: conservative Gemini, moderate Telegaon, and the absolute mind-bending moonshot Changelly. Then I stress tested them, right? What if XRP only hits $10 in 2030, plateaus for 5 years, then pops to $64 in 2040. The result, your 5K becomes about 22K in 10 years, then 6 digits by year 15. That's not exactly Lambo money, but still a triple-digit percentage return that most saving accounts would envy. Meanwhile, of course, if XRP face plants and just kind of hugs the inflation line, worst case scenario, well, you're kind of out a fancy vacation. That's a risk that some people are happy to take for the upside potential. The key turning point, at least our narrative climax, if this were a Hollywood screenplay, comes down to the supply pressure, right? Only 100 billion XRP actually exist. 51 billion are in circulating supply right now. Ripple's escrow unlocks are scheduled and fairly transparent, with around 80% flowing back into the escrow for another unlock another day. Utility, of course, keeps growing via ODL corridors, micropayments, and, most importantly, tokenization experiments with real-world assets. Now, every time that some bank in Southeast Asia announces that they've processed cross-border transfers in seconds using XRP, it adds a sprinkle of demand. Right, multiply that across continents and time zones, and supply and demand math starts looking pretty spicy. But let's be real. Technology adoption isn't linear. Remember how DVDs were king, right? Or even VHSs. Then streaming, of course, came along and obliterated them, right? Then vinyl made a hipster comeback. Crypto could see new blockchains, CBDCs, right? And regulatory frameworks that we just can't predict. XRP's job is to stay useful, to stay nimble, and to stay compliant enough to ride all of those waves. Now, if it does, its volatility gift remains, under the tree, waiting for believers to simply unwrap it. Now, speaking of belief, I treat my XRP a bit like a bonsai tree, right? Check in on it occasionally, I trim the dead leaves off of it, but I resist the urge to yank it out of the pot each morning to see if the roots grew. Right? And that's how you kind of kill a bonsai, right? And of course, instruments. So instead, set alerts, sure, right? Read quarterly reports maybe. Join communities. Again, our Discord is free and full of folk who will nerd out over, Merkle trees with you at 2 a.m. But don't go ahead and doom scroll the price charts past midnight unless you enjoy stressed dreams about candlesticks. Now, let's go ahead and land the planes with some quick kind of recap that you can screenshot for your kind of vision board, right? 2025's price is roughly around $2.26 at the point of recording. $5,000 buys you 2,212 XRP. $15,000 buys you 6,637 XRP. Now, Gemini sees $64.20 by 2040. Potential is $142,000 or $426,000. Telegaon pegs $160. Potential is $354,000 or $1.064 million. Changelly swings for the hills at $1,938 per XRP. The potential is $4.286 million or $12.86 million. Mind-blowing. Even the lowest of those projections beats inflation and most index funds if it materializes. The highest is life-altering, legacy writing maybe, fund the family reunion for the next decade kind of money. The real secret sauce, though, isn't just the price target. It's actually discipline, the dollar cost averaging through the thick and the thin, ignoring the FUD storms, and remembering why you boarded the crypto roller coaster in the first place. Now, for me, it's the thrill of, the disruptive tech, the democratization of payments, and yes, the tiny voice that whispers, what if this really is the next big thing? Now, if you want to kind of keep bouncing ideas, share your moonshot spreadsheets, or simply laugh at my terrible metaphors, then hop into the Discord. The link's chilling in the description down below. And if Kraken Pro feels like the right cockpit for your journey, then that affiliate link is there too, fueling this channel so that I can keep the research, deep dives, and caffeine supply steady. And all right, friend, that's time to probably exhale, right? We ventured from coffee spills to potential multi-trillion-dollar futures, from Google Gemini's stoic caution to Changelly's fire-breathing optimism. Whether XRP ends up a steady kind of freight train or a rocket to Mars, remember, wealth creation is often boring, patient, and prepared with small, consistent moves, not the adrenaline-fueled FOMO. And so here's the deal. If you've learned something new, if you have felt even a flicker of aha, then smash that subscribe so the algorithm knows that we're cooking up conversations that are worth sharing.